We are in the 21st century at the head of an ever-expanding past or an ever-expanding history. We only move into the 21st century on the foundation of things that have been established long, long ago. The principles that govern the way visual representation works are still the same principles that govern the way they work 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. Makes perfect sense to me to go back to the origins of these things and pick up from there, to take up the challenge, really, to find another way to make these things seem fresh, even if they're not. The painting Many Mansions, which I finished back in 1995, it's a very classical structure that the imagery is hung on. When I started out, I mean, the artists that I really admired, people like Géricault, that whole genre of history painting, that grand narrative style of painting, was something that I really wanted to position my work in relation to. And so in order to achieve a similar kind of authority that those paintings had, I had to adopt a similar structural format. I think in general the paintings have been really well received, but there's a lingering controversy around the sort of unequivocally black, kind of emphatically black figures. I wouldn't have done them if I didn't feel it, but I tend to think having that extreme color, that kind of black, is amazingly beautiful and powerful. The first painting I did was way back in 1980, was a painting called The Portrait of the Artist as a Shadow of His Former Self. And it was the first time I had used this simplified, kind of reductive representation of a black figure. And so that painting was the one that established the black figure as a mode of operating for me. What I was thinking to do with my image was to reclaim the image of blackness as an emblem of power. And I think it still functions pretty much that same way. I do a lot of different things, but I don't find any of them incompatible because they all sort of reinforce each other. It's like whether I'm using film, video, or anything else, I mean, either I'm working with a set of conventions that have already been established, or I'm working against a set of conventions that have already been established. But the primary source of my ideas about visual representation come from pictorial representation through painting. So this light is actually going to sit near here with a big sun on it. So it'll have its own light source. Hi, can you give me a hand? Because I want to push this back. These houses are actually part of a project I'm doing for a show at the Columbus Museum entitled Illusions of Eden. The theme I've chosen to work with is the theme of home, and essentially staged it. What I'm looking at, in a way, is how impenetrable those places are to people who are not on the inside. The whole idea of us really being, in some ways, obsessed at this point with penetrating that wall, finding out what other people are doing, you know, what's going on in their lives, what's going on in their houses. And is what's going on in their houses what we expect to be